It has taken 232 episodes, but it is official. Samora is out. This is the Dylan and Taylor Show. Welcome. I got books. I got more books. Seriously, I got books. We got books for days. But no one cares about that. Taylor, it's time for the brogue part of this. Welcome.
Oh, man, I should have had them right here to pull up. I feel like I'm running down the start of the Dylan and Taylor Show, but it's going to go up from here.
Yes, it could only. I mean, Ray's not here, so it's already great. Wow. There's one other part of this that is just represented by 3 question marks. Brad, hello.
Our guest of the evening.
It's books, brogues, and question. Yeah, that's Brad. And Brad's got books. Named by
Brad's
Brad.
got books. We've all got books. This is perhaps the greatest night of my life. I'm so glad that we've finally taken over. Once again, everybody, welcome to the Dylan and Taylor Show. Who knows what's going to go on? We already got dogs involved. But we do actually have one more guest. And that's going to bring us into this weekend. So I'd love to welcome Lawrence Dockery from the future out in Memphis. The 901, if you will, I believe. I don't know if anybody actually calls it that.
We do here. There's plenty of people here that call it the 901. And just point of order, if y'all need book recommendations, I got y'all for days. I didn't know there was going to be a book theme. Otherwise, I would have had my own stack ready to go.
Oh, perfect. Lawrence, because we're on this topic, what's your favorite book?
Ooh, favorite book. That's a tough one. I'd say probably anything by a guy named Eric Larson. He wrote like Devil in the White City. If there's anybody out there in y'all's area that is loves the true crime stuff, it's like the World's Fair in Chicago plus a serial killer, true story. But that was good. So anything by Eric Larson, I've read probably 6 or 7 of his books.
Okay, I think we hear Brad just chatting away right now or typing away right now. It's someone else. Who cares? Anyway, on the soccer side of things, somehow, for those unfamiliar, Memphis, I believe, plays in the Western Conference, despite, and I do mean this, literally being on the eastern side of the Mississippi River, and not by much.
Not by much, no.
Yeah, 9th place at the moment. Being top's not for everybody. 1 win, 2 losses. Does this all sound right, Lawrence?
That's. I mean, I don't know if. It's accurate. I don't know if it's right. The move to the Western Conference was one that took me by surprise. People in this city that are fans of the Grizzlies have long had to deal with being in the Western Conference. So this is something that's new for me. But we'll adapt or we won't. We'll just have to wait and see.
It's a little bit backwards, and maybe that explains the beginning of your season. Can you run us through, obviously, a 1-0 loss to Sacramento on Saturday night? Run us through what the rest of your season has looked like so far, because as you can imagine, we've been a little busy over here.
Yeah, we've 901 FC has only played 3 games so far this season. There were I feel like it's kind of a strangely staggered start to the season for some of the teams. I know, like, for example, Louisville City in the East didn't play on opening weekend the same way that everybody else did. So 901 FC had I guess you could call it a bye week on the 3rd match day of the season. And we opened up at home against the Las Vegas Lights, and that was a come from behind 2-1 game. That's Jose Bautista is the new owner there for the Lights, and he actually made the trip. I want to say that's probably the first time in all of the years that I've been covering 901 FC that an opposing team's owner actually appeared in the ballpark. And I do want to say that I got to share an elevator with him on the way down to the basement after the game. And he's only about my height, but you want to talk about some massive, massive arms. Those things were like this big. So that was kind of I don't get starstruck very often anymore, but that was one where it's like, wow, this dude is jocked. But so as a come from behind 2-1 win over Vegas to start the season, and one of the themes that has been one of the messages that the team has gotten out there that, you look at it and you go, yeah, that tracks is, Stephen Glass, the coach, Caleb Patterson-Sewell, the assistant sporting director, said, look, we wanted to build a roster of guys that both wanted to be here and are going to fight every single minute of every single game. And the first two games, the 2-1 win over Vegas and then a 2-1 loss against Indy, I feel like has borne that out. They fell behind early against Vegas and could have just decided this isn't our day. Let's just pack it up, throw in the towel, and go to the next game. But they found a way to come back and get the win. And then against Indy, and this is hard for me to say as I've been a referee for 17 years. So when I'm covering games, I'm always looking for ways to kind of support the referee and say, no, that wasn't a bad call. Yes, it was a penalty, this, that, or the other. The refereeing in that Indy game was subpar, if you want to be polite about it. Just having done this so long, it looked like he was out there to put on a show for somebody. That being said, they still found a way. Instead of being down they were down 2-0 late in the game, and instead of throwing in the towel, they found a way to get one back and had a chance to equalize in stoppage time, and it just didn't go their way. Then they had the bye. Then most recently was the trip to Sacramento, and that's a long road trip. That's a long flight from Memphis to Sacramento. And, I'm not normally one to kind of use travel as an excuse. We're not, it's not 1927. We're not taking a 4-day train trip out there. But Sacramento is one of the better teams in the league. I don't think that's certainly probably not news to you guys. But, they went to the Western Conference Final last year, if I'm not mistaken. They went to the Open Cup Final the year before, and they were tied in like the 80th minute with Orlando. So that's a quality outfit out there. And now I want to see, as far as I can tell, played pretty well. There wasn't one of those, oh my God, what happened moments, I don't think. And, you went on the road against a really good team and came up just a bit short.
Besides the shocking refereeing, has there been anything that you've noticed that's a considerable difference? I know you're only 3 games in, but from the East to the West.
I haven't, but I was discussing this with somebody, and I cannot remember for the life of me who it was now, but it's the discussion centered around the speed is going to be a lot different. And I don't know if that just means they just run a lot faster, or if that means they move the ball a lot faster, or if they can switch from defending to countering to scoring at the drop of a hat. But that was something that was brought up, obviously, in addition to the travel, which over the course of the season might become a problem, having to make multiple trips all the way out. That's like 2,500 miles out to the West Coast from here or something like that. So having to do that multiple times over the course of a season. But like on the field, the biggest concern that has been relayed to me was the speed. Like a lot of the teams in the Western Conference apparently have more speed than teams in the Eastern Conference.
Alrighty. So Lawrence, I got a couple questions for you myself. The first one being, you already mentioned you guys play at a ballpark, former Reno fan here. Trust me, I understand the difficulties of that. But last year when Orange County went and came back from behind from a crazy 4-3 victory, the field did play a ever-present part. And now that the baseball season is starting to kick off, how do you expect field conditions to kind of impact the game this time around? Have they figured it out, or is it still?
Yeah, so that's a fair question. It's one where what time? I don't remember exactly. Was that a July game last year?
July 22nd, yes.
Okay, yeah. So typically that like July and August is when the field in Memphis looks its worst. You've a combination of it's summer, so there's not a whole lot of rain. And the fact that you've been picking up and putting down and picking up and putting down over the course of 4 or 5 months, flipping from baseball to soccer and back and forth and back and forth. So yes, I have no doubt. I don't remember what game it was last year, but there was one where there was just this big stretch over the dirt of the infield where it had like accordioned up, and it almost looked like Pizza Hut from Spaceballs, and it wasn't great. And however, this game being in April, the field is in much better shape earlier in the year. Like the first 2 games of the year we had were at home against Vegas and Indy, and it's probably the best I've ever seen the field look in all the year. And this is what our 6th season in the championship. So, but you did mention the baseball season has started. What gives me hope is that a conversation that I had with somebody at a season ticket holder meet and greet jersey reveal night is that apparently there's a new grounds crew at AutoZone Park this year. And last year, the grounds crew we're here, we put it down, we did what you told us to do, we're leaving. This year, the way that it's been told to me is that these guys on the grounds crew understand and are going to make that extra effort to make sure that it's not a disaster. But with this game being in April, I don't feel like the field is going to play as much of a role as it did in July last year.
All right. My next question for you. So this Memphis team definitely added a bunch of tools this offseason and retained one very significant younger player in Nighty Pickering. I hope I said that correct. Who kind of like our Bryce Jamison is kind of tasked with being the next big thing for the USL to go abroad. However, this offense has only netted 4 goals in the 3 games for you guys on the season. Is that as expected, underperforming, or what do you think about that?
Well, a couple of things there. I think it's only 3 goals through 3 games this year. A 2-1 win, a 2-1 loss, and then a 1-0 loss. Yeah.
Yes, you are right.
So yes, you mentioned Knight Pickering. He luckily the week 901 FC had the bye. He was away on USU 19 national team duty. So that's something he's not just going to be like the next big thing, I guess you could say, of the USL, but he's caught the national team. The national team was aware of him. He won goal of the week in week 1, as a matter of fact, with an absolutely great strike against Vegas from 25 yards out or so. A lot of the signings, the way I looked at it, I really liked the offseason that this team had. I thought they absolutely killed it from a variety for a variety of reasons, both player personnel, off the field stuff. I thought 901 FC probably had the best offseason they've ever had. Looking at a lot of the signings, they brought back Pickering. They signed Nico Brett, from Birmingham, like the 3rd all-time goal scorer in USL Championship history. That was big. They signed Noe Meza from Union Omaha down in League One, who scored 20-something goals, if I'm not mistaken. And I was expecting just an all-out, just goal fest every single game. And at the media day that we had, that's one of the questions that I asked Coach Glass. I was like, are you guys expecting, a lot of goals this year? And he said, well, last year, if you look at it, we were top 4 in the East in just about every single offensive metric. So one of the things that they're trying to do this year is shore things up defensively, which, looking at the roster, I guess kind of makes sense. They did sign a decent number of defenders. They picked up Tulu from San Antonio, if I'm not mistaken, AB Sissoko. They got some quality defenders in there. So the attack, perhaps below my expectation, but probably right about at what the team was expecting. One of the things that Coach Glass mentioned is in the way they tried to construct this roster is they wanted to shore things up defensively. And by that, they meant not give up cheap goals. That was kind of a thing that they had mentioned from last year that they looked at, that they wanted to get better at. It felt like every other game there was like a weird, strange goal that they gave up kind of out of nowhere. And so that's one thing they feel like they needed to work on and get better at. So I guess the offensive output's probably right about where it could and should be. And defensively, you haven't had a clean sheet yet, but you've only given up multiple goals in one of your 3 games. So I guess it's kind of a wash, I guess, would be the best way to put that.
My last question for you. I don't know how much of our games you have seen this year, but where does Memphis 901, in your opinion, match up? And if they were to beat Orange County, how would they do it?
Well, that's something I'm gonna have to rely on something that that Coach Glass has gone to a couple of times early in the season, and post game availability or pre game availability or whatever is. Early in the season, you don't have a whole lot of film on the other team, and so you just have to kind of focus on yourself and rely on your strengths and what you do. Full disclosure, I have not yet been able to catch any Orange County games, so I think 901 they just gotta stick with it, right? That's ultimate generic coach speak type answer, but they just got to keep trusting in what they're doing and trying to find ways, because there hadn't been a game. The first half of the Indy game, they looked bad. They looked bad the first half of the Indy game, but they came back they continued to fight. They didn't, there were a couple of games last year where things weren't going their way, and they hit the button and said, we're done. 6-0 at Phoenix, 4th of July weekend is one that springs to mind. But I have liked the way that even when they've gone behind, they've continued to fight. If that's something that they continue to do, if they were to fall behind against Orange County, it's not going to be one where they'll make you as an opponent continue to feel uncomfortable until that 90 minutes is up.
All right, Lawrence, will you give us a score prediction for this weekend's game?
Predictions has not really ever been my forte. If I could predict, my March Madness bracket would be in much better shape than it is right now, and I might have won a lottery or some such at this point. But I might as well throw something out, right? I don't know. Let's call it 2-1 Memphis, just because. With it being at home, and I feel like they didn't play poorly against Sacramento, and I feel like if you play well and you still lose is much different than losing and completely no showing. That may sound obvious, but I don't know. I feel like with it being at home and the guys have had a couple of weeks to kind of mesh and get everything figured out, I feel like they're kind of due for a good result.
Brad, what's your score prediction for this weekend?
Ooh, I'm hoping we avoid a game like last season. That one was a tough watch, even though Orange County came out ahead. I think this one's going to be a little bit more defensively focused, especially with the injuries on Orange County. I'm going to go ahead, though, and reverse Lawrence's prediction. I'm going to say 2-1 Orange County. I just haven't seen Nico Brett kind of regain that form enough this year from Memphis to really show.
That is something. He is the first two games at home. He came on as a substitute fairly late in the game both times. I don't know if that's just a coach's decision or if there's something else. You never can quite tell with a player who's been in the league this long. You do have to wonder about possible injury things. But the first two games he came on as a substitute. That's all I got for you on that front.
Taylor, score prediction.
I think Shuttler's going to have another shutout, and I think we're going to win 1-0.
Ooh, I'm going to echo Taylor on this one. And since she's doing a lot better on predictions, which we'll get to later, we'll do that. Lawrence, one final question before we say goodnight and ask where we can find you. Where's the best barbecue spot in Memphis?
Okay, so I've got several for a couple of different reasons. If you've ever watched any food show, Guy Fieri, Travel Channel, Food Network, whatever, everybody comes to Memphis and goes to Rendezvous. And Rendezvous is, if you're looking for something to eat right before the game, Rendezvous is a block from AutoZone Park. And Rendezvous is good. There's nothing wrong with it. It's fine. My personal favorite place is Central Barbecue. And they have probably 4 or 5 locations around Memphis now. There is one downtown right next door to the Civil Rights Museum. So if there's anybody in town, that is certainly something that I would recommend that you can go do. But Central Barbecue is really good. They got a lot of, it's not just pulled pork. Their ribs are good. They got a good sausage and cheese plate. You can do barbecue nachos, but you can get it on fries. And so you can have like barbecue cheese fries, which is just fabulous. And then if you're on Beale Street, there's a place called Blue City Cafe right at the corner of 2nd and Beale. And they have good ribs and some barbecue cheese fries that are absolutely to die for.
Beautiful. Lawrence, thank you for coming on tonight. Where can we find your work if we want more of you?
So you can find me, my personal @ldoc93 on the Twitter or the X or whatever everybody feels like calling it any given day. You can find the 9-on-1 Soccer Podcast. It's at 9-on-1 Soccer Pod right there on the screen. It's on Facebook as well. Just search 9-on-1 Soccer. And so I also, the 9-on-1 Soccer Podcast falls under a larger umbrella of a company here in Memphis called Bluff City Media. So they're on the Twitter at Bluff City _media. And we cover all things Memphis sports, Grizzlies, Tiger football, Tiger basketball. So I do all the soccer stuff. I will say it is kind of nice to be the go-to guy for soccer in a city. That is kind of cool. It's a nice little gold star on my lapel there. But yeah, that's where you can find me. I do after every game, I record a video podcast, not dissimilar from this one, and then I do written articles as well. I do a written preview of every game that you can find on the Bluff City Media website.
Awesome. Lawrence, thank you for coming on. Have a great rest of your night.
Thanks for having me.
Alrighty. Let's quickly talk about last weekend's game. And in case you didn't get to see it, in case you're not watching live right now and getting to see some of these highlights, a wonderful man, DK Jenks, wrote a recap. It's on our website. You can find it there, ocscpodcast.com. It's the most recent thing. I'm going to start here. This is the first game I've finally gotten to see live, that I wasn't at, of course. I hate this new camera angle. I know it's kind of the original camera angle. We went kind of reverted. Not a fan of it. I also don't love the mic by the scorers table picking up what they're talking about. Oh, well. Pros to this game. Sofiane Djeffal. I'll say it one more time. Sofiane Djeffal. Wow. What a game from him. And I think OC's versatility was probably the way that we won this one, to be honest with you. Brad, I'll go to you. What'd you like from this game? What'd you hate?
I mean, to reiterate, Sofiane Djeffal, going into this week's game, I was on the Tulsa podcast, and they asked me, about Sofiane because he is a new player on our team. And I replied to them, I wasn't really impressed of what I've seen so far this season. I think that he has a lot to prove, and I don't know if he heard that. However, he makes me kind of do the Shaq, I was not familiar with your game meme, because holy moly, he controlled that midfield. He looked absolutely stellar on the ball. His goal is up for goal of the week, and I think it has a good chance of winning unless it's just a popularity contest. That turn that he does, and if you listen to his post-game interview, he mentioned he saw 4 players around him, and his first thought was that's the way he's going to create space, is just a quick turn, and he executes it perfectly and gets a little lucky by the goalie saving the ball into the back of the net. However, that doesn't take away from an absolute worldy of a set of sequences. A bunch of good defensive highlights kind of backstopped, a 1-0 victory. I really thought Orange County should have put a couple more in. I think they were the better team on the day. But, we'll take 1-0 every day, especially at home. And a shutout's a shutout. A win's a win. 3 points is 3 points.
Taylor, we'll go to you. A shutout is a shutout. You're very familiar, and you've been beating the Colin Shuttler drum for a while. Let's talk about the goalkeeping on Saturday night.
Don't get me wrong. He had some huge saves. Absolutely. And I don't think that Tulsa necessarily tested him too hard throughout the full game, but he did have big moments that definitely kept Orange County in there. I think it's just another great example of why Shuttler is the keeper that we always should have between the sticks. I will like to remind you, Dylan, however, this is the Dylan and Taylor show, and twice now you've went to our guest Brad first instead of me. So I just would like to remind, thank you. There we go. Let's switch the orders. Get me up. That sounds great. I just wanted to put that out there.
Well, I just wanted to go in the order that we're all listed. For those listening and not watching, none of this makes sense, but good. Things are in their proper order. Nature is healing, and that must mean that Memphis is probably going back to the Eastern Conference at some point. But hey, I feel like this was not necessarily a super pretty win from Orange County. Some footwork from quite a few players notwithstanding, but a win is a win. And I think I've mentioned this already this season. Sometimes you just have to get 3 points. You don't have to be perfect. And early in the season, it's unlikely that you're going to be perfect, but getting a result is huge. This is the, fifth, fourth? I don't know anymore. Different starting 11 that we've had. In your experience, Taylor, how difficult is it as a goalkeeper when the back line in front of you just keeps on changing week to week?
I don't think it's too difficult because week to week you still know what you're doing and you still have the same role, and the majority of time your backline's supposed to be doing the same thing regardless of who's in and out. And if you've got that rapport from the training room, then it should come over into the field. I mean, obviously there's going to be some hiccups, and there might be times you have to say things to certain players that you wouldn't have to say to others because of just experience levels. But I don't think it makes too much of a difference.
Brad, we'll go to you now. Do you want to talk about the possession game here? It was hoof the ball at the pitch 2 weeks ago, and now it's playing 1-2s and knocking it back and forth. How are you? What are you liking? What are you seeing?
I'm still enjoying the fact that it doesn't matter which mid three pairing you put for center back and defensive mid. Partita as the captain did impress me. I don't believe he got a yellow for the first time this year, which is definitely a plus. Ashish Chadha stepped up where he needed to, had himself a good game as well. But really, I think Ashton Miles had one of his better games of the season, goal notwithstanding in one of the other games that we played. And Shuttler came up big when we needed him to. There is nothing bad I can say about that. I think Shuttler as the goalie is going to orchestrate a good back line. Allowing 6 shots on target, 15 shots for Tulsa is a little bit of a red flag. I don't think they're as offensively minded as a bunch of the other teams we play. However, I trust this defense, and I trust Morten Carlson to play chippy and win the ball back.
Wonderful. Brad, man of the match.
I believe he is in our green room right now, and that we should just bring him on right now and say hi.
Well, way to ruin the segue. For those of you who weren't maybe paying attention or can't see what we can see, welcome Sofiane Djeffal to the Dylan and Taylor show, Orange and Black Soccer Cast, whatever. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me.
It is a pleasure. First goal for Orange County over the weekend. Walk us through both the turn to beat 2 defenders and the finish.
Yeah, I think it was it was definitely a good moment. Felt good. It's been a minute since I felt like that while playing, so it was good. It was a moment where we kept the ball a little bit. The ball got back to Ashish. I was checking my shoulder. I saw the guys was about to step. I knew I had enough space to turn in between them. And then, start driving. And then whenever you get close to the box, usually they can't really step. They can't make contacts because they're scared of giving away PKs. And I had enough space to shoot. He went in and then went to celebrate with my friends. So it was a good day.
I mentioned it earlier. You slipped a little bit, and I think I can speak for everybody.
Oh, yeah.
So glad that you did not fall.
Yeah. It was really close to having the biggest concussion of my life. It was close. He saved me. My friend actually saved me, so it was good.
We're glad to hear it. Sofiane, I think, and admittedly, I haven't seen every game in the USL, but this is, I think, the first time that I've seen a stoppage in play for you to, or for Muslim players to break their fast. So, for those who maybe aren't familiar, can you walk us through what Ramadan is? And after that, could you tell us what it's like to be training and what it's like to be playing while you still have to be fasting?
Yeah, so as a Muslim, Ramadan is a really important month. It's a holy month where Muslims all over the world get closer to their religion. And one of the things that we do during this month is fasting. So from dawn to sunset, we are not drinking and not eating. So it's definitely a different approach in terms of the body, simply because you have to understand that days will feel longer, and when a game is at 7 p.m. and you haven't eaten or drinking the whole day, it's definitely you feel different than if you had food throughout that day. But I think the club did a great job. Obviously the club is aware of it and do everything they can to make it easier for myself. The league has been great as well, giving me the opportunity to break my fast, give me a couple minutes, usually at the beginning of the game. So I mean, it's been okay. I've been doing it for now a couple years, so I'm used to it. I know what kind of challenges might come up. I might lose a little bit of weight, and it's not always a bad thing. But yeah, it's definitely a different approach. You might feel a little weaker, but it's a great opportunity to get closer to your religion and just get stronger mentally, because it's also a way for me and to put my faith before my basic needs. And it's definitely a really important month, I would say, for me.
Got it. You mentioned mental strength and to take things kind of back onto the pitch. Obviously, the team around you has been changing week to week and kind of all over the pitch. What are you doing to kind of maintain your position, not only in the starting 11, but during the matches to kind of maximize and bring us on the run that we're on at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely an interesting position to be in as a team and as a player as well, because you genuinely never know how the starting lineup is going to look like. So it's a challenge, but it's also like a great thing because you get to play with different players, you get to learn them. I'm also still a new player. I've been here for only about 2 months now, so I'm still learning about my teammates, and injuries comes and go. It's part of football, so it's the next man up mentality. Whoever is there at that time, has a chance to get their spot in the starting lineup and hold it. And I feel like since the beginning of the season, whoever had to step up at different position, Ash as a center back, Ashish played left back, also in the middle. I think all these guys, have done a great job, and fortunately, we're now in a good spot and defeated. We still have a lot of room for improvement, I believe, but it's part of the game. Like, injuries are gonna happen, things are gonna happen. You might have a good game, you might have a bad game. The guy next to you has to be able to step it up and make it happen for you whenever the team needs. So I think that's one of the strengths of that team, is that all these guys are ready. All these guys are ready to take their spot, get their chance, and Martin as a coach, makes everybody feels involved, and that shows on the field.
And to build on that, is there anyone in particular that you get jive with on the field the most? So, you're like, oh, they're going to be there and I can make this play, or I know that they're going to give me this type of pass. Is there anyone that's clicking with you that already?
I would say Cal. You guys haven't seen him yet, but you guys probably saw him play a little while ago. But now that he's back in training, me and him just see football in a really similar way. So sometimes we do a little too much, but in trainings it looks really good. So I would say Cal is one of the players that is really similar to me in terms of how he sees football. So he just makes things easy, really easy, and it's easy for me to read or understand what he's trying to do, because most of the times I probably try to do the same thing. So I'll say him. After that, I'm also really comfortable and confident with all the guys around me. Charlie is a guy that I know for over a year. Unfortunately, he got injured this weekend, but it's also a player that can easily understand on the field. And yeah, and I got the chance to like learn some of these guys. I know what Partida looks like and what his strengths are, and Seth and Ashish and all these guys in the middle. So I'm still getting like comfortable with those guys and creating and building those relationships. But if I had to pick one, I'd probably say Kyle Scott or Brian Ilowski, one of the two. I will
That
let you guys pick.
That's great. And then, of course, we're 3 games in and you have a goal. Is that just the start of your goals this season?
Yeah. The goal is 47 goals, so it's just 46 to go now.
Excellent.
Now, hopefully it's the start. I know it's like, I know I can score and I can assist, and it's definitely an area where I hope I can find myself a little bit higher on the field and getting in those areas and showcase what I can do. I don't want to put the numbers, but just let's score as much as we can, and we'll see at the end.
All right. So, Sofiane, I mean, Taylor kind of just stole my question a little bit. I wanted to point out that I believe that was your first professional goal, which is kind of the opposite of your college days where you scored, I believe, 20 with Oregon State. Do you consider yourself a scorer we're going to see a little bit more this year?
I think I can do both. In college, I used to play a little higher to start, so I used to play more of a number 10. So I ended up closer to goal. I ended up running in the box. Right now, my role in the team has been a little different here, and it's been a little different since I started as a professional. So I think I'm able to do it. Obviously, it depends on what the team needs, and that's what comes first. And if the team needs me to be a little lower to start the attack and combine and find passes, I can do that. But I'll also be more than happy to get the ball a little higher in between lines, turn and try to create. I think I can, without being arrogant, I think I can do both. And it's probably going to depend. Certain games you might need a player a little bit lower. Other games you might be able to find me a little bit higher, and why not get those numbers up. So I think I can do both. Mostly since I've been professional, I've been playing a little lower on the field. So it's nice to get the ball a little higher sometimes and remember that you can score goals. So.
All right, I got one more question for you. I'm not going to ask for specifics about your times in the MLS, but I do want to see a little bit of your comparisons now that you've played a couple games in the USL, and especially playing against both the last year's first seeds in the East and the West. How does the competition match up between the two divisions?
That's a really interesting question. I think it's I would say tactically, I think this is where the gap is quite big. I would say between the MLS and the USL. In terms of quality, I think you can find good players in both leagues. I think a lot of players in USL have nothing to envy to the players in MLS. But I think tactically, you can tell that those players have been around for a long time. They're really rounded. Where USL sometimes it feels a little closer to a college game, simply in terms of like intensity and in terms of like it's a bit sometimes more direct. When I would say overall most MLS teams have a little more structure in terms of what they were trying to do. So I would say for me that has been the biggest difference so far. But I played against most teams in MLS, and I think that a lot of USL teams can compete, and I genuinely believe so. Obviously, resources are different, and all these guys in MLS have access to a lot of things that maybe most USL teams might not have access to. So that definitely plays a role. But in terms of on the field, I would say the biggest difference is probably on the tactical side of things.
Sofiane, we're going to jump to a few fan questions, and I will just let you know, including one from me, they're mostly food relevant.
Yeah, no problem. All good. I'm from France, so that should be all right.
Chuck would like to ask, have you found any Orange County restaurants that do a great iftar buffet?
Oh,
So if you break fast.
no. And if you have any recommendation, you can find me on Instagram. I'll love couple options. But yeah,
I'm
no,
sure
no.
he's got plenty.
Usually make food at home. We keep it simple, but no. If you guys have any, I'm more than happy.
Got it. What are you mostly preparing early in the morning? Are you waking up before dawn, eating a big meal, and trying to make it through the day? Or are you just trying to subsist until sundown?
Yeah, usually I try to stay up and usually maybe try to take a nap in the afternoon, but I feel like I'm really lazy at 5. It's tough to like wake up at 5 and actually get a full meal. So usually might, wake up, drink a little water bottle, and then if I'm in a really good mood, I eat a banana. If not, I just go back to sleep. So yeah, that's usually what I do. On game days, because game is later, I usually stay up and eat more throughout the night. But when you have only one meal a day, over time you just get full really quickly. So you end up eating way less. I probably should wake up way more often at 5 to actually eat. But the truth is, I don't really.
No worries. One final food question, I believe. What is your favorite vegetable, and how do you prepare it?
Oh my goodness. Vegetables are my enemies, but it's a really odd one. I really like peas. It's weird. I know you probably never heard that before, but I really like peas. My mom actually, she has like a recipe. I wish I could tell you how she makes it, but she makes it with, they're quite simple with some meat and it's amazing. But probably gonna have to ask her about it. But yeah, sorry, I might be the only person on earth that have peas as their favorite vegetable.
I'm not going to judge. I will let you know that some of your teammates in the
Oh,
past
good.
have
That's
listed
fine.
some fruit
That's fine.
and tried to pass that off as a vegetable. Maybe they didn't know. So this is a judgment-free space, Sofiane.
Love that.
Quickly, who's your favorite teammate on the squad right now?
Oh, that's a big question. Oh wow, favorite teammate. That's definitely not Charlie. So that's for sure. If you guys want to clip that and send it to him, it's definitely not him. No, I'm just kidding. But wow, it's tough because Thomas speaks French, so obviously it's easy for me to connect with him. Do I have a favorite? I'm trying to think, man. On the soccer side of things, it's probably Kyle and Brian, and then on more like friends. Yeah, so I get along with Ashish and Thomas quite well. I'll say those two.
All right. We'll let you
Yeah.
list yourself too if you want to say your own best friend. I think that's
Yeah,
fair.
there you go then. There you go. No, but definitely not Charlie. If you guys have to remember one thing, it's definitely not Charlie. He will understand why. He will understand why. It's nothing mean. Don't worry. It's nothing mean.
I have one last question for you, and I know it's
Yeah.
obviously Charlie isn't the answer here, but is there someone that you model your career off based off of who you grew up watching, or maybe even currently watching?
I have a favorite player. I mean, I really like Busquets. I really like his way of playing. I've never been the most athletic player ever, so seeing somebody that can think the game the way he does and does the thing that he does is quite impressive, and it's definitely like something that you're trying to learn from. Modeling your career is it's just so difficult. I would say I don't know if there's anybody that I really like look up to and like, okay, yeah, I want to be that guy. I'll just try to be like, I guess, the best version of myself and see how that looks like. But nah, as a player, I think my favorite player might be Busquets, and really close second, Charlie Asensio. Really close second.
A very close second.
Very close second, yeah.
Sofiane, thank you for coming on. Once again,
Yeah.
congratulations on your first goal for Orange County, and best of luck with the remaining few days of Ramadan. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, guys.
It's been a pleasure. Wow, look at that. It's the Taylor Show now, I believe. We got him on. So I think at this point, we've basically got, if we've got a guest on, they're scoring a goal. It seems like everyone's going to score 1 goal this season. So I think we'll just get through the whole squad. A quick question for you both, because Brad, I know you have to get out of here in a couple minutes. Who is least likely to score a goal this season?
If you ask our prior guest just now, I think Mr. Charlie Asensio has some answering to do on why he's not going to score any goals. Although now that I say that, he's probably going to score a banger in the next game, and we'll have to have him on to answer the other question.
Well, fair enough. I think he's probably going to be out for a little bit with a shoulder injury. So, Brad, no worries. We get to wait on that one. Taylor, who is least likely to score for Orange County this season?
I'm going to have to say score again and put that little caveat on there so I can go back to Shuttler.
Cop out.
It is a cop out, but nobody's safe at this point. We're what are we, 7 for 7? 7.
He doesn't
goals,
count
7
because he
goals?
has scored. So
That's why I said the caveat of again. It's my show. I get to make the rules here.
my name's first.
That's fair.
I mean,
That's fair.
sure, that's because it's alphabetical, but whatever. Brad, before you get out of here, will you go through our score predictions?
Yeah, of course, if Mr. Producer Andy wants to put them up. So I've gone ahead and taken the liberty to show off everyone who's doing well in a gold, silver, and bronze format. Nathan from the writing team at Orange and Black, he's the one who does our wonderful pregame analyses on game day. Go ahead and check out his articles. He is currently leading the way. And if you know anything about predicting, if you're leading the way, you're probably doing a really good job breaking down games in advance. Then we have Kayvon from the audience in second, and a 3-way tie, including our own producer Andy and Taylor for third, and Nico from the community. So that's where we're at through 4 weeks of the season. And one thing that makes me quite proud of this is we've had 50, 60 signups, and we're consistently getting 30 to 35 a week. So there is a lot of people who are participating and continuing to participate. I think we have about 2/3 of the people every week putting in a prediction. Also, one last fun fact: we did have somebody who got a little cute putting Jack Marius Tactheratrix from the Key and Peele show as their username. I did include him in the middle of the bottom right hand corner. I hope he puts some more predictions because I do like seeing little Easter eggs like that.
The worst part of that one is from 1 week. Assuming this person is a he, they're 1 point behind me. Which
they're 2 points behind me too. They predicted 1-0. A couple 1-0 predictions came through this week, and for the first time, nobody predicted not first time, but a couple of people predicted draws, myself included, and nobody predicted a loss again this week. So clearly confidence is riding high for the Orange County fans out there.
Beautiful. Brad, I think you got to go, correct?
Yeah, I'm going to do a quick random thought if that's okay.
I suppose I will allow it because the rules are whatever here on the Dylan and Taylor Show.
All right. If you take a look at my name here, I put Pal Hates April Fool's Day. This holiday is not a real holiday. It's been taken over by people thinking that they're really cool gimmick making in the advertising industry. And there's no surprise anymore to anything on April Fool's Day, which is why the Taylor and Dylan Show has been a bright welcome change in this world, because it captures everything the holiday is truly about. It's silly, it's gimmicky, it's hopefully here to stay, but it is different than the normal, which is kind of the spirit of April Fool's Day. So with that, I do need to go pick up somebody at the airport, and I'll let you guys do it.
Thanks, Brad.
Thank you.
Wow, he truly is well and gone right away. Dylan and Taylor Show with producer Andy still, because he's the best. We run underneath 60 minutes every single time. Taylor, you got a random thought this week?
I do have a random thought. Well, it's not so random, but we're currently, I'm trying to do this in a smooth way, but she's passed out sleeping. We're currently fostering puppies. We have this adorable angel right here, and she is one of 4 of her litter. We only have this one, and her name is Pia. But if anybody is looking to adopt, because we don't shop, please find me, and we can help put you in touch with some beautiful rescues, which is called awishforanimals.org.
I love it. And we got some dog on the podcast. This is maybe the best episode we've ever had. Probably because Ray's not here. Let's be real. My random thought, not super random. It's super prepared. It's an article. It's a recommendation for reading. Let me stop for a second. Go to our website. Read what our wonderful writers are reading. Read what I'm attempting to edit. OCSCpodcast.com. If you see our stuff on socials at OCSC_soccercast on most things, give it a like, give it a share. If you hear us on Spotify or wherever you find your podcasts, give us a listen. Just we're trying to do our thing here. And as much fun as we've had tonight, sometimes it is a little more business-like. And we would like to reach some more fans the same way the club has. With that, my random thought is a reading recommendation from andscape.com. That's ANDSCAPE.com. And it's 6 Degrees of Ron Washington. Give the shout out to the local professional baseball team manager. Look at that. 8 minutes under time. Producer Andy, thank you so much for making this one happen. To everyone for being on, to Lawrence and to Sofiane, thank you for joining. And to everyone who listened this week, thank you for being here. This has been the Dylan and Taylor Show, and we are saying good night.